Hey, what's going on, YouTubers? This is Zen Manga here, and I hope you're enjoying your day. If you're enjoying my content, give me a like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you know when I'm coming out with new content. So we are doing Sinestro, Year of the Villain #1, and let me say, I really enjoyed this book. I'm not really a fan of Sinestro, but this book kind of changed my perspective on Sinestro. So in the beginning of the book so far, you'll notice that he has an ultraviolet ring because that's his new power source and ring that he's achieved. Now he's following orders from Lex Luthor, and Lex Luthor in the story and all of Justice League right now, he has fused his body with Martian Manhunter to create this perfect, seemingly perfect being. And he's doing it for a grand design or order by Perpetua. I'm not going to get into that part of the story. You have to go out and read it, or if I'm going to review the book, I'll do that at a later time. But one thing that we do know is he's receiving orders to secure regions of the galaxy, right? Or parts of the galaxy in that sector. Because Lex Luthor wants to make sure that his plans are secure and he doesn't want any interruption, especially for all the people who are coming against him, to stop his plans for resurrection of Perpetua or anything that he's pretty much doing, right? So, with that being said, as you can tell by the title of the book, it says "On a Quest to Kill the Gods," right? So, we are. Well, Sinestro is given the order to go onto this planet. He goes on the planet. Okay, he's ready to do what he needs to do what he does. And he goes on the planet and he sees a race of gigantic titans named Paragons. Now, the Paragons come from another universe, and they're on this way to the universe, basically to just take over what they can. And of course, Lex Luthor sees that as a threat. Anyone would see that as a threat. So Sinestro thinks he could take care of them with all the inhabitants that are there too, right? They're fighting against these Paragons, and Sinestro shoots them, and he notices that something is happening. He's cutting off their arms, things of that nature. He's like, I'm basically winning. But arms start to grow back. They start to regenerate on a fast rate. So it's kind of like, what to do. So basically, he kind of like fails that mission, but he also gets insight that there are billions and trillions of basically a small species living on the Paragons. Now, the Paragons are humanoid in shape, and their lifespan is basically the span of just like seconds. Like, I think it's like 1 second. Now, of course, 1 second to us is super fast, and it's kind of like the blink of the eye, but for them, it's kind of like a whole life cycle. What they're doing is they're living their lives, they're born, they're working for regeneration of the Paragons, and then they die, right? But there's so many of them that it's seamlessly, just like a human body or anyone, the cells that make up your body in order, and when you get it cut, it starts to regenerate, but they're doing it on a faster scale, like lightning fast, right? So he fails that mission. He goes back to Lex Luthor, kind of tells him what he needs to do, and then Lex Luthor is basically saying, you have the ability of an ultra violet lantern. You could kind of like shift your consciousness in different ways, right? So I wasn't too sure what that meant, but later on we see Sinestro. He goes back to fight off one of the Paragons, but he comes up with this plan just to get to know all the inhabitants that live on the Paragons. So he shifts his consciousness into kind of like a ultraviolet duplicates of himself, and they're on a molecular level where they're able to talk and converse with all the inhabitants that live on the Paragons themselves. So he gets to know them, he gets to know their lives, everything of that nature, seeing them being born, seeing them die, and it's pretty cool. So later on we see them reporting back to Sinestro, and that's the part that's pretty cool, because we see them reporting basically as if they lived the life with them, right? Because I didn't know that he had this ability as an ultraviolet lantern. So later on we do see more talking, and then he's basically talking to his miniature versions of, like, did you succeed? Did you successfully convince the inhabitants to not heal them, basically, right? And then they're basically like, no, but we need more time. And so he basically does it again with a couple of the Paragons, and one of the coolest things happens is that he lets them his subconscious replica version of himself, I know it gets kind of weird, is able to extend their lifespan, right? Which gives them more freedom, right? And hence, it kind of goes into a little bit of society features, like, you're not just working the 9 to 5, but with a little bit more freedom, you're able to do things that you were never able to do before, and thus they are able to do that. And they do everything like that, and at first it doesn't seem like it's working, but it does work eventually. And one of the paragons are starting to die, and then he's like, he's basically saying like, why is my arm not regenerating, and things of that nature. And Sinestro successfully convinced them not to heal the paragons, because the paragons are basically not doing good things on the outside, so they're basically aiding in all this monstrosity of events and everything that they're doing. So what happens next is pretty interesting. We're left with one of the paragons that are left, right? And his arm starts to heal. And Sinestro is basically saying to him, like, yes, your arm is healing because I'm making it heal, right? And you'll see, like, one of his subconscious, all of the basically inhabitants are basically worshiping Sinestro himself, because he's extended their lifespan up to like 2 seconds, right? Now, of course, that sounds like a little bit, but in hindsight, in their life, that means everything, right? To have that freedom from that seemingly 8 to 5 when you're just born, your work, and you're able to do nothing. So he's able to extend their lifespan so they could do some of the things that they want to do. And when they need to heal, they heal, right? So now he has this one paragon on his side. Now Lex Luthor comes to the end of the book, and he's like, why is he still alive? And he's like, he's going to do my bidding. And Lex Luthor is kind of questioning, like, what is Sinestro really doing, right? And then you see towards the end of the book, you see Sinestro on the top of walking alongside this paragon who's like a titan and super strong, right? So it's pretty cool to see. And I don't know if there's any kind of like sub planning that's going to go on with Sinestro, but I like that little team of him and the Paragon at the end. So because the Paragon could seamlessly regenerate. So here's another thing that I was thinking of at the same time, right? What if all of those inhabitants wanted to shift over to I don't know if this is possible, because maybe it's the body of the Paragons that make those inhabitants anyway. So it's probably not that, but what if some of them are able to go on Sinestro in future books and then heal him accordingly, making him near immortal, right? But that's just me guessing and ranting. But I really enjoyed this book. It definitely shifted my view on Sinestro, so I'm definitely going to give this book kind of an 8 out of 10. Now, I know some of you are like, well, that's not high, but it's because it's a year one book, and it doesn't really give you that much backstory, but I felt as if there was a little bit of character development in Sinestro, and maybe I'm totally wrong because I wasn't privy to reading a lot of books, but I enjoyed it, and that's it. So this is year one Sinestro, on the quest to kill the god. So read this book, check it out. This is Zen Manga. Give me a like, subscribe, comment, right? What do you think about this book? And hit the notification bell. Take care. Peace.